Hope you all had a great start to 2021 as 2020, the year of the pandemic, has finally come to an end. However, the Chinese virus is not done with wreaking havoc on the world's population, at least in Western nations with their ageing populations that for the likes of Italy stand at an average age of 45 against developing nations such as Pakistan with an average age of just 22 years, which at least goes some ways to explain why the COVID crisis is just not as bad as it is in the West. Though India with an average age of 26 seems to be suffering that bit more than Pakistan. So is that could be down to a weaker strain of the virus, less testing, so most patients with COVID are unrecorded, much as was the case in the West during March and April's first wave of the Chinese virus. On the 4th of January 2020 at 8 p.m, Boris Johnson announced a full UK lockdown that looked set to run to at least mid-February, that in my opinion could continue into at least mid-March.
You should not be meeting friends. If your friends ask you to meet, you should say no. You should not be meeting family members who do not live in your home. You should not be going shopping except for essentials like food and medicine. And you should do this as little as you can. And use food delivery services where you can. If you don't follow the rules, the police will have the powers to enforce them, including through fines and dispersing gatherings. To ensure compliance with the government's instruction to stay at home, we will immediately close all shops selling non-essential goods, including clothing and electronic stores, and other premises, including libraries, playgrounds and outdoor gyms and places of worship. We'll stop all gatherings of more than 2 people in public, excluding people you live with. And we'll stop all social events, including weddings, baptisms and other ceremonies, but excluding funerals. Parks will remain open for exercise, but gatherings will be dispersed. No Prime Minister wants to enact measures like this. I know the damage that this disruption is doing and will do to people's lives, to their businesses and to their jobs. And that's why we've produced a huge and unprecedented programme of support both for workers and for business. And I can assure you that we will keep these restrictions under constant review. We will look again in 3 weeks and relax them if the evidence shows we are able to. But at present, there are just no easy options. The way ahead is hard, and it is still true that many lives will, sadly, be lost. And yet it is also true that there is a clear way through. Day by day, we are strengthening our amazing NHS with 7,500 former clinicians now coming back to the service. With the time you buy by simply staying at home, we are increasing our stocks of equipment. We are accelerating our search for treatments. We're pioneering work on a vaccine. And we're buying millions of testing kits that will enable us to turn the tide on this invisible killer. I want to thank everyone who is working flat out to beat the virus. Everyone from the supermarket staff to the transport workers to the carers to the nurses and doctors on the front line. But in this fight, we can be in no doubt that each and every one of us is directly enlisted. Each and every one of us is now obliged to join together to halt the spread of this disease, to protect our NHS and to save many, many thousands of lives. And I know that as they have in the past, so many times, the people of this country will rise to that challenge and we will come through it stronger than ever. We will beat the coronavirus and we will beat it together. And therefore, I urge you, at this moment of national emergency, to stay at home, protect our NHS, and save lives. Thank you.
Also announced was an ambitious plan to vaccinate 15 million people i.e. all those in the 4 highest risk groups and key workers by the middle of February. Unfortunately, to date, the government has barely managed to vaccinate 2 million people. So I don't see how 15 million target is going to be achieved by mid-Feb. In fact, even half the target, i.e. 7.5 million, will be tough to achieve, which means to expect the vaccination mission to be accomplished by perhaps mid-March, by which time the number of daily deaths should have sharply fallen from the current 1,200 plus per day to perhaps less than 50 per day, given that most of those likely to die from the virus will have been vaccinated by then and gained some level of immunity. In the meantime, the UK is fast galloping into the COVID storm, with COVID hospital beds now exceeding 30,000 against 25,000 at the height of the first wave peak, and the continuing news of about 50,000 COVID cases per day, which means many more patients will need hospitalisation over the coming weeks. So things are definitely going to get a lot worse in the UK before they get any better, and thus the next 3 to 4 weeks is definitely not a time to be falling ill with anything, as one's chance of receiving effective treatment in UK NHS hospitals will be near zero, especially if one's skin tone is brown, given the institutionally racist nature of the NHS that has been borne out in the deaths disparity both for BAME, NHS workers and patients. Meanwhile, ONS data confirms the magnitude of the pandemic's impact, as the number of excess deaths for 2020 is at the greatest level since World War II. So imagine if the government had more closely followed the advice of the mad scientists such as Valence and the Cambridge so-called professor who had fully embraced herd immunity. UK death spikes would likely now be 2 to 3 times higher. This video was an excerpt from my latest extensive in-depth analysis that concludes in the main part in a detailed trend forecast for US house prices. However, covers many other topics including the inflation megatrend QE forever, main drivers of housing and other asset price trends, and where artificial intelligence stands going into 2021, as I believe general artificial intelligence was born during 2020, and how it will come to rule the world. Plus, Intel finally fights back against AMD's Ryzen CPUs with its latest Rocket Lake CPUs, and Alder Lake not too far ahead, maybe appearing in 2021. And of course, where the AI stocks stand at the start of 2021, all of which was first made available to patrons who support my work. So for immediate first access to all of my analysis and trend forecasts, then do consider becoming a patron by supporting my work for just $3 per month, including having access to the forthcoming schedule of analysis that includes UK house prices trend forecast, a stock market trend forecast for 2021. In fact, here's a recap of how stocks, my forecast performed for 2020. Then we have AI stocks buying levels update, Bitcoin price analysis, and of course the US dollar and British pound by roughly mid-February. That's my schedule of analysis over the coming few weeks, which you will gain first access to only for $3 per month. And ensure you subscribe to this YouTube channel for new analysis videos.